Time for the market report. Prices still trending down, but not in a big way.
We'll talk to some extension experts about it and more. But first, the numbers. What were the week's biggest gains and losses? And then, NRO report. Economists Will Maples and Brian Mills fill us in on what's moving the markets. And finally, a closer look at a fall staple, the sweet potato. So, markets closed trending down again. Grain's the only real gain, once again as well. Let's take a look. The week's biggest gain, lumber up 38.5 bucks, more than a 7% increase from the previous week. The week's biggest loss, live cattle down almost 8.5 cents. That's more than a 3.5% decrease from the previous week. This week in our report, we continue our talk with Dr. Will Maples, this time about what we expect from the USDA after the shutdown ends. We also speak with Dr. Brian Mills about what farmers need to do this time of year.
My biggest thing I'm really interested in when we finally get reports back to see where that corn yield number comes in at. See how big of a crop we are actually dealing with in terms of having to get rationed out throughout the rest of the year. Because we've had really good exports on corn. We've got really good ethanol demand. We have really good feed demand on corn. If that supply side can come down just a little bit, I think it'd be a good price boost to the market. So just what I'm looking forward to the most in these next reports whenever we get them back. So adjusting yield down, so what we're harvesting now, as we've gotten harvested, we're actually getting real yield numbers coming in. We haven't just been no more estimates anymore. And so lower yields, less supply, less production.
I think for sure what we need to be talking about is, budgeting and then financial statements, and making sure that, farmers understand what's going on in their business. And the financial statements do that. I mean, enterprise budget is one form of that, but having your balance sheet, your cash flow, your income statement, all those are going to also help you, right? And they help you in if you're taking it to your bank, you have an idea of here's everything that's going on in my business. And so being able to show them a plan that goes through your enterprise budget, your financial statements, and how that impacts ratios is going to make you more financially stable in their eyes. And so I think that's really important that producers need to know, is that all of these statements, these financial information is important to know.
Sweet potatoes are a pretty big deal here in Mississippi. We love them and love to eat them. But what are the economic factors in play for those who grow them? You might be surprised.
The annual sweet potato crop in Mississippi is a unique aspect of this state. Calhoun and surrounding counties in the north of the state grow the vast majority. The city of Vardaman calls itself the sweet potato capital of the world. So, what makes this particular crop so special here? I spoke with MSU Extension Specialist Dr. Lauren Harvey to get deeper into the details.
So one of the interesting things about sweet potatoes, one of the unique aspects of sweet potatoes is almost all of the operations are vertically integrated. It's different from traditional row crops. You grow the crop, you harvest the crop, you end up selling it, and it gets sent to a grain elevator. Well, all of the storage in this case, and therefore all of the risk, is maintained by the sweet potato grower. So you grow the crop, you seek out customers, then you wash and sell the crop on demand, and then you ship that crop out to those people. But you're maintaining possession and ownership of the crop that entire time. And so a portion of that crop then gets saved from one year to the next to be used as seed for the next year. So they're completely vertically integrated operations, and therefore the risk is maintained by the grower throughout that whole time. So I like to say that growing the potatoes is really only half the battle. You then have to store it, you have to find your customers, you then have to be able to effectively wash and pack it. It's a lot more than just growing the potatoes. So the normal buyers of sweet potatoes would be your large grocery chains, Walmart, H-E-B, Publix, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, you name it, those kind of larger grocery stores. And then another very large consumer would be, and we call that fresh market, and then another large consumer would be processing. So you have companies that make sweet potato chips, sweet potato French fries, and those would be companies like McCain Foods, Lamb Wesson, J.R. Simplot, those kind of companies. And those two market groups really make up the vast majority of sweet potato sales, fresh market and then processing. And then there's about 80, I want to say, at least for the state of Mississippi, it changes depending on where you are in the country, but Mississippi, about 85% of our crop is consumed as fresh market product, and the vast majority of that is consumed domestically. and then the remaining 15% or so is through processing of some sort.
According to the Mississippi Sweet Potato Council, the best potatoes should be firm, round, with fairly even coloring. Store them in a cool, dry, ventilated space. Don't refrigerate them. Cook them with the skin on to preserve nutrition, and use a stainless steel knife to cut them.
And that's it for a deeper look into the markets.